Right. We are rolling.
Bill, I want to thank you for being here this morning, and especially, more importantly, I want to thank you for your critical role in helping to start Christ Community Church, and we are eternally grateful for your role in nurturing and leading this congregation in the very beginning. Thank you so much for that. My first question to you this morning is about the group, the Bible study that came together that you led. Tell us about it. Tell us about the people, the dynamics, and how that got started.
Well, in response to your kind words, I have to say that it was a great privilege to be part of beginning the Christ Community Church and then serving. We had to hold it together before our pastor came permanently, so it was a joy, just a joy to me. I came here to Tampa to serve with Campus Crusade for Christ, University of South Florida, Tampa U, Gordon Keller School of Nursing, the MacDill Air Force Base. And I wanted to establish a board, a Campus Crusade for Christ board of men and women in the city and recruit help. For example, we would get a lot of ladies to make sandwiches and cakes for our student meetings in our homes and in our home and other places. So I began to representing Campus Crusade. Sometimes they would ask me into their homes. Some of the people even who became part of Christ Community Church, they would invite me to speak, so I would speak, and I began teaching Bible studies. I remember one in Corky's parents. I remember that distinctly. I remember even what I taught, and it was interesting. The interest in Bible teaching just fascinated me. It's just as though they weren't getting Bible teaching. So the response was really good. They really enjoyed that. Enthusiastically received, and many of these couples indicated they really wanted Bible teaching. They were in churches, but there wasn't teaching in depth, especially expository, verse by verse. So these men and women, including Kathleen and me and friends of ours, simply weren't getting the kind of Bible teaching we wanted. Our churches were preaching the gospel. They were inviting people to come to Christ consistently, service after service, and we were thankful for that. But we didn't really see a lot of depth in the teaching. And we really wanted to see that. So that's the very beginnings.
Thank you, Bill. My second question is, what was the motivation, what was the driving force behind the group deciding they wanted to actually become not just a Bible study, but a church?
Well, we all wanted Bible study in our lives. That was obvious. I look back and I still am surprised that while they were in church, they were fascinated when someone would actually teach more in depth in the Bible. So the desire grew, and we started actually talking about, okay, why don't we create a local church where the Bible would be taught? So we began talking about that. A group of us met in homes, talked about starting a church just like that, and eventually began making serious plans that we were just going to do that. This included discussions of the kind of pastor we would want, which would be crucial. We would want a man thoroughly trained and desirous to really teach the Bible, rather than only topics. The name Christ Community Church was suggested by one of the members, Margaret Rydell, and that was here even before Dick got here, and we thought that was a very good title.
Very good, thank you. Tell us about the first meeting and the early meetings, the spirit of the people, and just what it looked like. Give us a picture of what that early time looked like.
Well, even though 47 years ago was a long time ago, and a lot of it is blurred to me, you remember certain things and you forget a lot of things, but I can still remember, I would use the word excitement, I really would, and a sense of, this is great. We're going to establish what we really want. We want to study the Bible. This has to be the secret to living the Christian life. We met at first in the Seventh-day Adventist Church down south here in Tampa. I can still see that auditorium, bright and well lit. I remember what I was teaching too. I picked one epistle of Paul every single message, and I would give the key verses, and I really enjoyed that. We advertised in the Tribune every week, and we were gathering. We started off with a fairly good group. That was interesting. But the group grew, and from the first service, there was a sense on the part of all of us that this is what we wanted. This is great. We are going to grow on the Word of God. And so our reputation grew for serious Bible study. That's what they knew was happening at Christ Community Church. And that as the years went on, that gave us a great deal of satisfaction. Just literally wherever we go, and in fact, even now, wherever I go, the older persons anyway, they know of Christ Community Church, and we enjoyed a really good reputation. And I'm sure Dick Williams deserves a huge amount of credit for that. We attracted leaders. We attracted navigator leaders, Christian businessmen, Christian Women's Club, and I was with Campus Crusade and leading Campus Crusade for Christ, which speaks well, I think, for what we were providing. And personally, speaking personally, Kathleen and I were thrilled to have this church. We felt it was solid and balanced, where we could raise our children. And both, obviously, from the lives they're leading now, benefited greatly from that.
Bill, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts about these subjects. And again, we thank you for your role in starting this church. And we just ask God's blessing on you and your dear wife and your family. And thank you again.
Thank you.
And we are